So, for 10 days I was meditating silently, and then on the last day they said we could speak to each other again. So I went back to the place we were living, and I just lay down on my bed. I didn't quite want to start talking to each other because it was very meditative. I just laid down there, closed my eyes and felt the sensations in my body. Heard the noises coming in from outside the room, and a conversation drifted in. Two guys talking about their experiences of the retreat. And I listened and I heard them become more familiar with each other, and they had a warmth, a love. It was like they were connecting with each other. And as I listened, I found myself connecting with them as well. It was like their joy, their love was being infused in me. And I just thought it was slightly strange, because in other situations perhaps someone else's conversation would make me feel left out, or I might even feel annoyed by it. Stop speaking, I'm meditating. But I decided to just let go of that feeling, and it really struck me. It was one of those experiences where it made me question how and to what extent happiness can be infectious. How can we share it? I started studying psychology, and I realized there wasn't much of a research tradition on this at all. In fact, I found that there's not even a word in the English language to mean the feeling of being happy for someone. To give you a comparison, there are 4 words to mean being sad for someone. We've got compassion, commiseration, pity, sympathy. But not a single word to mean the feeling of empathizing with someone else's happiness. So, why is this? And not only the word, it seems like the experience itself has often been considered rare. Schopenhauer once wrote that he thought, oh, it's in black text. I better remember it then. Black on black is not the best colour, but here we go. I think he said, direct sympathy with another is restricted to their suffering, is not roused, at any rate not directly, by their well-being. In and by itself, this leaves us unmoved. Whereas Huxley said something very similar. A single quotation mark. No, Huxley said that I am aroused by people's negativity, I feel sorry for them, but it's not actually what he said at all. I'm paraphrasing it. He ends with the quote saying, isn't it boring, someone else's happiness? Why is it so boring? So, why is it that these speakers think that empathic joy, is what we call it, is either boring or non-existent? Who can we be happy for? What if your partner comes home from work and tells you that they've been given a promotion? Do you feel happy for them? Or does it remind you of the promotion you didn't get the week before? It sets off a chain of negative reactions and you start feeling bad. What if they tell you that they've just had an amazing conversation with someone at work who happens to be of the opposite sex and you know are quite attractive? Shelley Gable found that those that are able to experience joy in the presence of their partner's good news have better relationships. And we all know from all the studies and surveys that the number one predictor of happiness is the quality of our social relationships. She called it capitalization because it allows for this exponential growth of happiness. I feel happy, you feel happy, you feel happy that I feel happy, and I feel happy that you feel happy, and you actually feel more happy that I feel happy that you feel happy. It's an upward spiral. What about outside of relationships? We're happy for our kids when they do stuff that's good, right? It seems like empathic joy does exist in these relationships. So was Schopenhauer wrong? Well, it seems that this is something that happens. Empirically, this has been studied. Psychologists have asked 100 people hundreds of people, when and for whom do you feel empathic joy? And the answer is, it is very common. But it does require one thing, and that's attachment. It seems like people can feel sympathy for strangers, but empathic joy is very much confined to people's nearest and dearest. It seems that for empathic joy to flourish, there needs to be an us. So, Schopenhauer didn't really have an us. Apart from a succession of poodles, he lived alone. He never married, he never had kids. I could probably imagine that this situation, having no attachments, probably allows you not to feel empathic joy. But we might also guess that you never watch football, because this is also empathic joy. When the team you support scores, the brain lights up as if it's you scoring. We feel good when we are part of something larger. And more than that, the experience of collective joy, it implies an empathic resonance, a connection to the well-being of those in the group. Connected, happy groups make for a better society, right? Well, there is a downside to connecting your happiness with that of groups, tribes, and teams. You may feel great when your team is doing really well, but you may also feel great when the other team is doing badly. This is called Schadenfreude. A study led by Mina Sakara found that Red Sox and Yankees fans showed brain reward-related activity when their team scored, but then also when the other team failed to score. This is pretty normal, right? But the people with the bigger activation were more likely to say they wanted to harm the other team's fans. Even worse, another study showed that this pleasurable brain activity was present when another team's fan was actually receiving a painful electric shock. These failures of empathy show up whenever we identify with groups that are in competition with each other. But even when competition is not made emphasized, empathic responses towards people that are known as the outgroup are often dampened or completely absent. We show empathy for pain by squirming when we see pain in another. If you see a needle inserted in someone's hand, your own hand is going to spasm as if it's receiving the pain itself. But the Italian neuroscientist Alessio Avenanti found that white people don't show this empathic response if the hand belongs to a black person. And black people don't show the response if the hand belongs to a white person. So what's going on here? The last 10 years of neuroscience have shown us that we are homo empathicus. We are made to be empathic, but whilst empathy is innate in us, it seems that our empathy is also to emphasize the in-group over the out-group. This is because our ancestors' survival depended on finding food, shelter, protection, mates. None of that is possible without an in-group. The out-group, on the other hand, reflects the very real threat of another group of humans coming to steal our resources and bump us off. But whilst this in-group, out-group distinction worked on the plains of Africa, in the 21st century, it amounts to nothing more than an epic empathy fail. Failures of negative empathy are arguably at the root of some of the worst things in our world, including genocide, inter-ethnic conflict, terrorism. It makes us blind to the suffering of others. But what about failures of positive empathy? What does it mean if we can't actually share our joy with those that are different? Well, I suggest that it is a missed opportunity for coming together, cooperating, and loving each other. Martin Luther King said that not hating each other is a necessary start, but no more than a start. So what is more than a start? A colleague of mine, Todd Patinsky, has pioneered work on what's called allophilia. This is a love for cultures that are not your own. So my example is Jamaica. I actually love Jamaica. I love Bob Marley, I love reggae music, I love the vegetable curry that a woman in the market near where I live cooks. And all of those things kind of make me love parts of Jamaican culture. This is allophilia. And it's not just the absence of prejudice. If prejudice is down here, oh, batteries. Yeah, I don't think it's working anymore. Oh. That's not allophilia. That's Martin Luther King again. Okay, I think it's another one of those white-on-white situations. Okay. Alright, so if you can imagine a gauge, and at the bottom we've got prejudice, in the middle we've got Martin Luther King's not hating each other, and then over here we've got allophilia. So empathic sadness can move us to correct the negative effects of prejudice. We feel sad, and then we feel empathic, and then we want to try and help people. But empathic joy is that which actually fosters truly positive intergroup relations. I'm going to give you an example of Senegal. This is a place 95% Muslim, 4% Christian. But if you went there at Christmas, you wouldn't know, because Christmas is a national holiday. The government strings Christmas lights across thoroughfares, and over the sound of the minarets, you hear jingle bells playing on the radio. So a 60-year-old Senegalese man put it like this: officially, we Muslims don't celebrate Christmas, but the Catholics are our neighbours, so we all celebrate all the religious holidays. This is something that seems to really build group relations in Senegal. Taking joy in another people's calendar and culture and festivals is something that the people take pride in. I think if we're going to cope with any of the 21st century crises that we face, we need to start acting like a loving, connected family. Allophilia and empathic joy has been shown to motivate outreaching to outgroups, to people that are not like you. As Bhutan and all the rest of the countries know, as we open up to the rest of the world, we're going to need empathic joy to start nurturing our relationships. So, apart from what moody old Schopenhauer thought, empathic joy exists, it's good, and we should cultivate it. So how do we do that? Well, Bhutan is predominantly Buddhist, and I know that the Buddhists in the room will know that there is a word for empathic joy, mudita. And not only that, we have practices for cultivating it. Loving kindness meditation is a practice where you imagine physically sending happiness and love to others. You imagine them happy and you feel happy yourself. These are people that are first close to you, that you actually love, and then people that you feel neutral towards, and then people that are just distant, even people that you would consider your enemies. Through doing this practice, you are training your mind to widen the empathic circle. Just like mindfulness, loving kindness appeared first as science, as something fanciful, something esoteric. But now there is a massive raft of research that supports many of the claims made for it. It does make you feel happier. But more than that, it makes you more cooperative, more helpful, and feel more socially connected. And these effects do cross group boundaries. So in my lab, we found that 7 minutes of loving kindness directed to a member of a racial outgroup decreased negative and increased positive automatic attitudes to that group. Just this tiny amount. Evolution has designed some tendencies in us towards tribalism. But human culture allows us practices that we can cultivate these states which get us out of that problem. We can widen the empathic circle. As well as the individual, there are things that people on a more macro governmental level can do to help us gain empathic joy. Governments and international organizations. Oh yeah. Okay, anyway. So the Muslims and Christians of Senegal, they're different groups, right? But to the extent that they are Senegalese, they represent what social psychologists call a common in-group identity. Neither group has to give up their culture. This is very important. Everyone needs to preserve their uniqueness and distinctiveness, but they can gain from being something larger as well. As well as these big group boundaries, there are also smaller ways that we can nurture this empathic joy. At the Bhutan International Festival, for instance, we will connect as music lovers, as art lovers, as film lovers, and as lovers of ideas. These alternative group identities give us new ways of being in us. They smudge out the lines that we draw between ourselves, and they paint us anew as a global family. So, empathic joy, it's good. Empathic joy is something that we will learn how to turn happiness into something that will be harmonious. That's basically it. Thank you.